Listening to the community radio show on WLEE News Talk 990. Numbers to call is 788-0990. I guess I should probably mute that. And toll free if you're not in the area. It was 1-877-953-3990. We have a good friend Bilal on the line. We've been talking about Hajj, and he was fortunate enough to be able to go on that Hajj pilgrimage last year. So we're just kind of getting some of his experiences and some of his feedback. I know we ended the segment with an interesting excerpt from your blog in which you had a little bit of water problem.
So just to recap, you're standing in the shower with soap on half of your body, half soapy, and you're in the process of squeegeeing off the soap.
How'd that work out?
How did that work out for you, by the way?
Well, I think, what did I end up having to do? I was just standing there, right? Because the thing is that you're in these like hostels for the later part of the trip,
right.
And yeah, the resources aren't always there, and it's things you don't always think about, right? It's
right.
because you are very much still like in a kind of developing area. It's not like America where you just have endless supplies of everything.
And it's packed.
Yeah, so yeah, the water had run out, and I remember just standing there going like, "What the heck, man? Really?" And it's kind of like it becomes like this thing to expect when you're at Hajj, is that everything that can go wrong probably will go wrong, and in a way that's just so obvious that it's just kind of hilarious sometimes. And I think me having the habit of writing everything also made it a lot easier for me to get through it, because it was kind of like I could see the pattern of like things happening, and it wasn't stressing me out, because I was like, I could go back and read it and be like, wow, that was actually really funny that happened. But yeah, I mean, I got through it. I had to like sit there and wait. Eventually, I think the water came back.
Yeah.
I was standing there for like 15 minutes, just like, okay, like what am I gonna do? I'm like covered in soap, and I don't know how to get it off.
I got one more question for you. And this has to do with one of the, I guess, something that is actually in the circle around the Kaaba, which is the Ibrahim, the Station of Abraham.
Yeah.
Now, this has basically the actual footprints of Abraham that were sunken into this rock. And, of course, somebody's probably going to ask, well, how do you get a footprint inside of a rock? I don't know. When you're, a friend of God, I'm pretty sure that he can make certain things happen that, will kind of, stand the test of time. Were you able to get near that and actually see it, or?
Yeah. I mean, it's a very large structure. The interesting thing is everything looks so much smaller on TV and in pictures. When you get there, everything is really big. So Maqam Ibrahim is a very big structure. It's like in front of the Kaaba, and when you look in, like, it has like these glass side panels,
right?
And you can look in and actually see the rock. It's like a big like cube, and there's like two footprints, but they are sunken in, so you can't really it's really not as exciting to look at as you would imagine, because it's just two big holes in a rock. But yeah, I mean, the reason I think why the rock was soft enough is that the Maqam Ibrahim, that rock, and also the rock that is the black stone were actually sent from heaven,
right,
given to Abraham to help him finish the construction of the Kaaba. Because if you notice, the door of the Kaaba is actually elevated, right?
Right. So
there's parts of it that were higher and harder to reach. So he was given this rock to stand on to be able to complete the top portions of the Kaaba. And when he was standing on it, he sunk in, because it wasn't really a rock from Earth. That's kind of the reason why. And then the black stone was mounted onto the corner. And the cool thing about the black stone is that it started out originally, they say that it started out white.
Right, yeah, I've heard that, yeah. Yeah,
and then with all of the sins and the evils in the world, it slowly started to blacken, so now it's a black stone. People kiss the stone, and they touch the stone, and that corner of the Kaaba is like the most intense. That's like that. It's kind of crazy. Like that little radius of like 3 feet, in my opinion, is like the most intense fought over spot of land in the world.
On the planet.
Like, yes. On the planet. Like there's always somebody tussling right there to try to kiss that stone.
And listen, I've actually seen women in the middle of that.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Getting getting their way in there, fighting with the men for that.
Yeah, I mean, earlier you guys had mentioned, you asked me if I had actually gotten to touch the Kaaba, and I did actually many, many times. I was able to Hamza go around and get close enough to where I would touch it, and I would like make dua like different parts of the Kaaba, and I actually even on my blog, in the later posts, I have videos of me touching it, and there's a video of me because I would get it, I pull out my camera and just like, I have to record some of this. There's a video of me trying to get close to the black stone, and you can just see like the mass of people like just crushing themselves to try to push closer and closer. Gotcha. So you can kind of just watching it, like I start to get stressed out again. I'm like, I can feel like that pressure again. It's just really, really intense.
Gotcha.
We're talking to Bilal on the community radio show. He's a VC graduate. We're talking about his experience in Hajj. He wrote about it on journeytohajj.com. I really encourage everyone to read about it. And I read through it, and the funny thing for me was that it actually brought back kind of memories of when I was there. Of course, I didn't do it during the pilgrimage season, but kind of the different, the crowds and things of that. So I wanted to thank you, Bilal, for coming on. We'll definitely have to have you come back on again, and we can talk a little bit further
we can talk about this all day.
Sorry, I know I told you it'd only be a 15-minute interview, but it ended up being 30 minutes. I always kind of
Don't worry, I took care of this last night.
Oh, did you?
I told you it's probably going to be a while. It's a good topic.
I appreciate it. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Right. Thanks for joining us.
All right, we'll talk to you later on, man.
All right, bro.
All right. Assalamu
alaikum. All right, so we are going to okay.
It's off. Man.
All right, fine. We're going to jump into a quick a little snip of the interview, which actually we'll probably come back to this again next week and do a little more commentary. Yeah. But this was the interview
he's with this interview with Ali Farouk. He does policy work here in Richmond. He's a really good guy, really involved with community events and kind of on the social and public affairs, public policy work. So we're going to cut to the commercial. It's his first Hajj. He's never been there before. And we can just cue that up and
to the segment. You said commercials.
Sorry, segment. On the community radio show, we're talking about his first Hajj experience. I think a lot of people get hung up or see specifically the physical nature of Hajj and view that as being more difficult. But I haven't done Hajj myself. I've gone on a couple of I refer to them as out-of-season pilgrimages, which is referred to as Umrah. But I would argue that the mental preparation far exceeds any kind of physical difficulty that you experience. And so my question to you is what do you expect the Hajj is going to be like for you?
I think for me, Hajj is going to be a test in patience and a journey where I get to know myself better and I get to know Allah better. And so what I mean by that is when you go on Hajj, when you go through anything difficult, whether it's a difficulty with your family or your job or whatever, what happens is you do things that surprise you. And sometimes those surprises are good and sometimes they're bad. So sometimes you'll go through something difficult and you'll act in a way that makes you ashamed. You'll break down, you'll stress out, you'll freak out, and you're like, man, I panicked and I shouldn't have. Or you'll find yourself rising above it and working harder than you imagined. And so that's what I'm hoping and expecting this Hajj. Like my goal is I want to be more patient than I think I can be. I want to be more calm than I think I can be. I want to have a deeper connection with Allah than I've ever had, and that's my goal. I don't want to be stressed out. I don't want to be freaking out if things go wrong, and I don't want to be like, whining and moaning about how difficult stuff is and losing the opportunity to get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Right, because I think that the frame of reference you have later on after you make pilgrimage or something difficult is if you could keep your composure and if you could keep your patience in such a difficult experience as Hajj, then whatever you're going through in your day-to-day life isn't going to compare to that kind of difficulty, and that you should be able to exert the same kind of patience and approach to in your day-to-day life.
Exactly, and that's why the pilgrimage, everybody who's gone has told me, the Hajj is a metaphor for life. The journey, it's literally, like, obviously it's a literal journey. You're actually traveling to a place and doing things, but it's also a metaphor for the journey of life. That You get there and you know nothing. You're almost like a baby.
Exactly.
You've been to a brand new place. You have no idea what's going on. You completely rely on your guide to tell you everything and show you everything and literally spoon feed you. And then over the next few days, you get more familiar with everything. You feel more comfortable, and you immediately maybe even make a few mistakes. And then you sort of come close to maturity, and then you ultimately are it's almost like having a death. When your Hajj concludes and you're making the farewell tawaf, you're like, I can't believe it's over.
Right. It's like looking back on your life, like, oh my God, I can't believe this phase of my life is over. It's just you're saying something similar to that.
Exactly.
I mean, I agree. I mean, the Umrah that I went on to, that was very moving to me. So have you thought about, since you've never been there before, what it's going to be like, or what you anticipate it's going to be like the first time when you see the Kaaba?
Well, to be honest, I'm actually afraid of what it'll be like. Inshallah, I hope it's inspiring and moving. But I guess with anything spiritual, you have a little bit of anxiety about, you hope that it's everything you wish it will be. You hope that you're moved and that your heart grows, and that, I guess what I'm afraid of is, is that really going to happen? And so when I think about that gives me a little bit of anxiety. Inshallah, I hope that my heart is moved and that I can feel something. So yeah, I mean, I think, and again, talking about preparing for Hajj, one of the things you do when you prepare for Hajj is that you ask people for forgiveness, and you try to correct your faults and pay your debts and things like that. And all that stuff, I think, helps prepare you for that moment when you see the Kaaba, that moment when you get there and you're in Allah's house. You're at the place where it all started. You're at the place where the Prophet started preaching and things like that. So over the past few weeks, what I've been doing is sending out emails, making phone calls, talking to friends that I'd lost touch with. And one, asking them for forgiveness, but two, also asking...
Are you listening to the community radio show on WLEE News Talk 980? That was an interview with Ali Farouk, who will be leaving next Friday to go for his first Hajj. And I think it's interesting that he said that, is that, there's this pressure that you're supposed to be moved spiritually, but I think everyone gets that at different stages when they're going through this pilgrimage. But we'll definitely continue this conversation next week. If people out there that are listening that have been on the Hajj, feel free to contact us during the week, and we can certainly put you on there next week. You're listening to the community radio show on WLEE News Talk 990. Can't believe the hour is over, man.
I told you, man, flies by. So we would like to thank everybody for listening. Again, questions, comments, feel free to call us in next show, and we'll see you next week, same time, same channel.
Great week.